Hello everybody, it's us, the Boomer Broads, back again for more fun. And today's show...
I'm told you're supposed to say your name or something, right? Our producer said maybe.
Okay, well we had said we were going to Chiron it, so we didn't say it.
Okay.
But we'll say it, okay?
Janet and Marie.
All right. She hurts me every show. Anyway, so today's show is going to touch on a lot of topics, but we are going to drive home the message that we always do drive home to women our own age, and that is that there really is nothing good about menopause. I have racked my brain for one good thing about menopause.
No more periods.
That's
Hello?
it. You found it. There it is. That's the end of it. But think about it.
That was easy.
You gain weight. You lose your memory. Sometimes you lose your mind. You sweat profusely. You're dry in other areas. You're wet, you're dry. Your hair loses its luster. Our poor producer, you really shouldn't be listening to him. There is nothing good about it. And it's interesting that people are not kinder to women who are 50 plus and going through it. We deserve a little bit of sensitivity.
I think you just have a very low tolerance.
Well, that's not surprising. Of course I do.
For anything that makes you uncomfortable in any way, shape, or form.
Well, fine. You know, first of all, you did not have a very bad
I didn't. I'm sorry.
stretch.
I'm not. I mean,
no, you don't have to apologize. I'm delighted for you. But I don't know if you realize you've gotten a little cranky.
Well, I think that's just my my stellar personality.
That's true. I was trying to give her an out. But you certainly have had memory issues.
Yeah, but okay. So are we going right into our subject of the day? Because I had other things I wanted to talk about.
We'll end with some other things.
All right. So, first of all, I have not worried about my lack of memory. First of all, two reasons, including menopause, but two reasons. The older you are, the more you have to remember.
Why does a boomer have more to remember than a young mother with kids?
Because I'm 66 years old.
But you got to remember with kids, you got to remember to pick them up, make them dinner.
I have to remember.
Kids, you don't.
It doesn't matter. I'm just saying an accumulation of names, memories, addresses. I got asked today where I lived. What was my address in 1996?
Yeah, that's scary.
I'm like,
That is scary.
By a person who was probably not even alive in 1996.
Yeah, that is scary.
And I'm like, I don't know.
Where we get calls for references in the office. You know, I used to work with you 2 years ago, really. And the staff has to describe them to us.
So let me explain why it doesn't bother me that I don't remember things anymore.
Why doesn't it bother you, Anne-Marie?
Number one, because I think I have too much to remember, and more every year. Number two, because a lot of what I've forgotten probably needed to be forgotten.
Absolutely.
It's okay that I forgot it.
It is.
Not that important.
It is.
And third of all,
it's not work related.
Sometimes it comes back to you anyway. I mean, in that moment, you know, when you get up to go get something, you're like, why did I get up?
Oh, yeah.
I stand there for a moment, I sort of recreate it. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And I
or when you call someone and they answer and you say, who is this?
Right. Who did I just call?
You forget who you're calling. And I made
or
the
why,
observation.
for sure. The big reason is the big
I
thing
made
is why
an observation, which I think was very brilliant.
Welcome to my life.
I do say so myself. And that is, the other thing is we don't have to remember as much anymore. And I use the example of Artemis, our business manager who works in the office next door to me. And on Thursdays at 2:30, her phone alarm goes off. And I always say to her, because I forget, why is that going off? She goes, that reminds me to water the plants. And I realized we don't even have to remember anymore. We just set our PDAs, or we set our computers. Everything's dinging and alarming and reminding us to do things.
So we have a lot of
That
help.
also impacts.
We have a lot of help.
This study that says
we
haven't even talked that women in particular have memory issues.
What provoked this subject today is that a study has just come out that the Boston Globe is, and that we'll put a link to on our site, on the Broad site, that says, I'm going to read this, mental wipeout, question mark. There is something to women's complaints. So this is a quote. It's not just all in their heads. It's not just that they're depressed or stressed out. So they are, in fact, on overload, on memory overload.
Yeah.
And it's okay. Most of us are. And my feeling is big deal.
I understand. It's not, well, I don't know about big deal.
What big deal?
Well, it's somewhat embarrassing if you don't remember. I'm very bad with names. Very bad. I'll be introduced to someone and boom, it's
and
right
you're
out of
not
my
alone.
head. I don't like
not
it, though. I don't like that. Then you're introduced to them again and you have to act like...
They don't remember you either, by the way.
Oh, they do. People remember me. But did you see,
yes.
indicated,
yes.
These are things that are sometimes to always a problem. 72% of the women surveyed have problems with names.
Yes.
72%.
That's all of us.
Can't remember names. That's everybody. What's the next biggest one is this one here, keeping up correspondence.
Well, that means, you know, writing to people.
Forgetting what you were doing.
Right.
That happens right in the middle of what you're doing. You forget what you're doing. You're right. Knowing whether or not you've told someone something. Oh, that's a big one.
For me. You say, Anne Marie, you just said that 5 minutes ago.
My father, God bless him, but he was in his 80s.
I know, but
he would tell those, right? Tell those stories. You heard the story 4,000
times. And it doesn't necessarily mean Alzheimer's, is what I'm saying.
No, it's
not a problem.
It's normal.
I think it's totally normal.
I don't think you have. Do you think people think you have Alzheimer's?
Yes. Yes. In fact, there's a part of this in here that says just because you forget or are forgetful doesn't mean that you're on the path to something more serious. It just means you're distracted, you weren't focused, you've got too much to remember, your hormones are changing. I mean, and also, you and I talk about this a lot. We process information differently, you and I. I mean, it's a good example of the two ways to process information.
Totally opposite of each other.
Totally.
You're visual.
Yeah.
You remember everything you see.
I can walk out of the room and remember if somebody moves the plant. I can tell you that they moved the plant because I have a photographic memory for the way things look, but I couldn't tell you, what I did this morning or what anybody said to me.
And I remember everything that people say to me, and I wouldn't notice. I'm the first person to say, "Oh, did you get a new? Is that a new plant? That plant's been there for 2 months." Yeah, always. Oh, is that a new couch? The couch? I've had that since you lived here. The couch has been. I just have no visual memory, but I do, to the chagrin of many, never forget what people say to me. And so they'll say, I remember that you said you'd be home at midnight.
My kids hated us for that.
I know.
And they also said, my kids would say, "You don't listen, Mom." And it wasn't that I didn't listen, it was that when you say it to me verbally, I don't remember. If you wrote it down or sent me an email, I'd probably be more likely to remember it.
If email had been around when your kids were growing up, I think you would have been saved.
I wouldn't have taken so much crap from my kids. That would have been one reason not to. All right, well, so don't forget. Don't forget. And we will post something on our site. Our wonderful producer will do that.
Who's still having reverberations from our menopause discussion, poor darling.
He's fine. He's used to it. He's so used to it. May I just ask you, what the heck is up with Tom Brady's hair?
Was it a faux hawk? What is that?
What is it?
What is he wearing now?
What the heck is he wearing?
Doing to him?
But what is this? It's not even like it's like he slept on the wrong side of his face. Anyway, we're going to put that picture up.
We're going to put this picture up. It's an asymmetrical hairdo. It's very odd with a little Dennis the Menace look on the cowlick.
I mean, all of his hairdo, and we can go through the incarnations of Tom Brady's hair through the last couple of years. Because we've been paying close attention to that. But this,
here in New England, it's a big story.
Big story. This is, I don't understand this one at all.
Well, we'll put it up, see what you think. Let us know if it makes any sense.
And then you brought up the woman who got fired after 40 years ago for a crime that she committed 40 years ago.
And Wells Fargo was the employer.
Right, whatever.
She was shoplifted in 1972.
We'll put that on our site as well.
And they found out and they fired her 40 years later. I don't think that's right.
Really?
I mean, if she were a murderer, or, shoplifting 40 years ago?
When she was probably a crazy teen.
Yeah, a 15-year-old kid or whatever. It just didn't seem like a fair decision. And I would imagine she could win this one if she sues, which I assume she is. Who wouldn't? Hello, Gloria Allred's probably already on the phone to her.
And can we talk just for a brief moment? Because I really was struck by this today. That 100 players are suing the NFL.
What a huge story.
And that whole thing, that whole sport. What is that going to mean to the sport, you think?
Oh, I think it's going to have tremendous reverberations. I'm
What
starting
ways?
to read football players say, you know what? I don't think I'm going to urge my son to get into the sport. If your
Really?
professional athletes are now saying that, meaning, I mean, the NFL, I don't know what they can do. Unless they, new headgear, you know, maybe they can come up with something that truly prevents concussions. Again, I don't know what that would be, but until they do, what parent would urge their child unless it's
get out there and get a concussion.
Right, exactly. Get out there and 40 years from now, I hope you have dementia. And, you know, it's
Crazy.
it is going to impact the
sport.
amount of people that get involved in
Is
the
it
sport.
just that sport it's going to impact? You think
Hockey has a tremendous
hockey,
concussion rate.
sure.
It's terrible. It's almost as bad as football.
Yeah.
And then I
But
guess
the
some
thing
soccer.
with hockey is they encourage it. You get out there and
The
beat
fighting.
that guy up.
Well, the fighting, but you usually don't get the concussions.
But that also
necessarily
happened
from
with the NFL, wasn't that
the Bounty.
The Bounty?
The New Orleans Saints were asked to
paying players
to get the head of the quarterback or whatever.
To inflict injury.
Yes, to
It's
inflict
like,
injury,
what?
not concussion necessarily, but certainly injury that could have
broken
resulted
bones
in.
or, torn this or that.
Yes, sports has gone off into a very scary world right now.
And then one quick little story, which I don't even know that you saw, that baby
Now I
boomers
do.
are retiring. Now you do. Baby boomers are retiring, so they're lowering the jobless rate and making.
You're welcome,
right
Barack.
up
You are welcome. We are here for you. I'm ready to help
I'm
Barack
still here
Obama.
working away for you, though.
All right. We'll see you next week. That was a bit of a buffet of information from your boomer
We
broads.
usually serve up a buffet.
Yes, yes. Until then,
Have a good week.
bye, everybody.